Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I've got filmmaker. I'm just going to call you filmmaker for now, although you're a multimedia artist, in my opinion, or a dance artist, as you said. I have Jenny Pill with me on Zoom. Hey, Jenny.
Hello.
So, Jenny Pill, I know her now because she submitted her film Voice to the Sherman Oaks Film Festival last year, and it was an official selection in the Art House Experimental category, and it is a dance film. And it's a beautiful film that everyone should see. And you can actually see it in the Discover Indie Film TV series in season 7 that comes out January 15th of 2023. So I urge you to watch it. And funny, I didn't mention it in the podcast before this one was an interview all about you, Jenny. And I didn't bother mentioning that I think I don't know if I remember to do it, but I think I tried to create a separate dance category for Sherman Oaks Film Festival. Because after telling you how much I love dance films, I was like, well, why should dance have to be submitted to Art House Experimental?
Yeah.
So I think it's got its own category, but I'll have to look because maybe I forgot.
Oh, yeah, that definitely needs to happen.
It does. It does. Even if it's just so that I can watch more people dancing on my as I screen through the films. But so if you want to learn all about Jenny and her film and the film festival she started called the Exeter Dance International Film Festival, EDIFF, EDIFF.co.uk. You can learn all about that in the podcast before this one. This podcast will be Jenny answering the 4 questions, which are 3 favorite films, a film that is underrated, a film that is overrated, and a lesser-known film that people should seek out. I just enjoy talking about movies, and so it just felt natural. And actually, the truth is, these 4 questions were inspired by a close friend of mine who's a professional drummer, and he loves to argue. He should have been an attorney, but instead he's a session drummer, and he goes on Facebook all the time and says, he names someone he'll name like Neil Peart of Rush is the most overrated drummer of all time. Try to convince me I'm wrong. And I was like, he's always talking about overrated, underrated. So with musicians, I'm like, so let's talk about movies in the same light.
Definitely. Everyone should have a drummer friend, I think.
Everyone should. And he's a gigantic man and the nicest person in the world. In fact, he has helped out at the film festival now and then, but often he's too busy. But thank you, James. You're the best. I know he doesn't listen to this, though. He's too damn busy. Also, a remarkable drummer, but like all remarkable artists, he likes playing guitar more now. I shouldn't have said that. I should take that back. So anyway, but I don't edit these. Let's get off of me and my friends. And Jenny Pill, would you like to tell us what some of your favorite films are?
Yeah, I took the question very much at its root, which was your favorite film of all time. I know I could have 3, but I thought for me there is only one film of all time, and that is With Nail and I, which probably lots of people choose, but it is just the best film.
I don't think. Well, as an American, I can tell you that almost no one has seen it.
Oh wow! Everybody should see it. It's been my favorite film for forever, and I've watched it. I don't know, over 20 times. And every single time I watch it, it still makes me laugh, and it just has the perfect balance of pathos and comedy, and the language and everything. Like, actually, the first time I watched it was the least favorite time I watched it because it took me a while to understand what was happening. And then each time I watched it since then, like even before I start watching it now, it makes me smile because I'm anticipating the characters and the crazy things they get up to and the dialogue. And it's just a series of ridiculous situations of these 2 drunk Londoners who are actors who are out of work.
Can I brag and say that I saw that film in the theaters opening weekend in Los Angeles? I actually went to see, I dragged my 2 best friends to see it because I loved it. It was a film from Handmade Films, which was George Harrison's company. And as a lifelong Beatle fan, I felt like I wanted to support George Harrison's. I mean, he created handmade films, I believe, to make Monty Python's The Life of Brian. So,
oh, wow. Okay, that was a worthy cause then.
yeah. He just, no one wanted to make that film. And he was friends with Eric Idle. And Eric Idle said, we have this blasphemous script. And George Harrison said, all right, I'll put up the money.
Brilliant.
And a film production company was born. And with Nolan and I, Richard E. Grant, amazing. Paul McGann. It's got the spirit of 60s drug and alcohol culture mixed in with Shakespeare. The language is amazing. Yeah, you just named one of my favorite films of all time.
It literally, I could watch it now and I'll just be in stitches, and I just love it. And I love sharing it with people who haven't seen it. I shared it with a friend of mine who's from Finland a couple of years back, and it's almost like a bit of a tense moment because you think if they don't like it, we're not going to be able to be friends anymore. And then he loved it and he was laughing his head off, and so phew, because don't want to lose another friend. But yeah, it's the best film, and so yeah, I thoroughly recommend it, and it's my favorite, and it's wonderful,
and written and directed by Bruce Robinson, who
based on a true story on someone he knew.
His own story as a young actor in London, and an encounter with his best. It's just wonderful. And I'll add, did you get to watch Richard E. Grant's Instagram during COVID?
No, I didn't.
So he, in his boredom during COVID, not being able to act, I believe every day he did another quote from Withnell and I.
Oh my God.
And he would perform the scene again, like not just one line. He would do one of Withnell's soliloquies in a way, 30, 40 seconds of talk. And then at the end, he would burst into laughter. And sometimes he would burst into laughter. One of the things like, what's in your toolbox? I know you've got paint thinner or whatever it was. Yeah. And then when he finishes, he bursts into laughter and he'll like lower his head and laugh and go, oh, Bruce Robinson.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could quote it with him because I know it that well in the film. There's a really good book actually that Richard E. Grant wrote called With Nails, which was, he's probably written another one since, but this was a long time ago, and it was sort of about the making of With Nail and I. And yeah, he was talking about all the ways that Bruce would sort of really bring out an authentic acting episode from him. Richard E. Grant doesn't really drink, and he was making him go out and get drunk, and he was throwing up everywhere, and he
he's actually allergic to alcohol. I heard a wonderful interview with him once where he learned as a teenager that if he drinks, he gets horribly sick. So one of the most sober people on this planet gives the best drunken performance. Wow. I would put it as just above Dudley Moore's Arthur.
Yeah, it's I think, like I said, it just captures the pathos as well, because he's a real asshole, the character. He's only out for himself, and yet by the end, you really feel for him and you just, there's a lot of tragedy in it as well as humour. And he just plays it perfectly. He's incredible. Yeah,
no, it's actually, I would argue it's a beautiful love story.
Yeah,
between
definitely.
Two friends. Because friends love each other too. All right, well, wonderful pick. You don't want to name any others? We'll just stick with Withnell and I?
Well, I've got a couple of extra ones. I thought I'd choose a couple of dance films.
Wonderful.
They're not necessarily favourite films of all time, but I picked a couple of dance films because I thought maybe some of your listeners wouldn't have seen so many dance films. So the first dance film I've picked out is called Pina, and it's a documentary about Pina Bausch, who was if you don't know, she's an amazing choreographer and filmmaker based in Germany. She's dead now. And it's a film about her work and about her films. And for any filmmaker or any budding filmmaker, I thoroughly recommend it. It's full of inspiration and amazing art. So yeah, Pina, that's definitely worth a watch.
Pina?
Yes. Yeah. If you just Google Pina documentary, you should be able to find it. And the other one I would recommend is called Young Men, and it's by Ballet Boys, spelt with a Z, It's all one word, Ballet Boys. And it's about soldiers in the First World War. And the choreographer, Ivan Perez, he's incredible. Actually, anything that he choreographs is generally completely beautiful. But it's a really powerful film. It really captures the essence of war, I think, and from different angles. And it's beautifully danced. The dancers are incredible. They're Royal Ballet dancers, but just males. And that's what the Ballet Boys is. It's a group from sort of an offshoot from the Royal Ballet, which is just men. And it's just a beautiful film. I don't think it's full length. It's maybe 30, 40 minutes long. And it's really good storytelling, but also very sort of tragic and about war, I guess, but told in a beautiful way. So those two films I would also recommend to people who haven't seen.
I am going to watch them as soon as I can, because
let me know what you think.
The idea of doing a World War II film, but working dance into it. Yes, I actually brought it up on my phone on IMDb so I can make sure I can watch it. And wow, even just the photos and the clips that are flashing by look amazing.
The dancers they're absolutely incredible. There's one scene where it's sort of like a hospital ward, and one of the dancers is dancing this sort of description of mustard gas or something of asphyxiation, and it's just so powerful, and it's just all told with dance, and it's beautiful. Wonderful.
Well, I greatly appreciate those recommendations. And what so the next question is a film that is underrated.
Okay, well, for this one, I've chosen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, because I think, even though it's well known, that sometimes it doesn't necessarily receive the credit it deserves. I love the fact that Michel Gondry didn't use any CGI for that film, that it's all done with, like, some of the sets he's made where he's done all the perspectives. There's a scene where the male character's going through the subconscious, and he's designed this table which is huge at one end and tiny at the other, so that he can get the perspective of being a small child. I don't know. And then they're moving the camera around rather than using CGI. And it's just it's so creative. And it's a really beautiful, romantic love story, I think, because it's told in a way of, like, people aren't perfect and they do keep making mistakes. And imagine if you keep making those mistakes and still want to be together. I think that's, to me, that's truly romantic.
I'm with you. We have very similar tastes, because between Withnell and I and Eternal Sunshine, I think Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind might be the most romantic film ever made, because it's about love conquering all.
Yeah, literally all.
Literally,
most messed
erasing
up stuff
someone from your mind, and yet love what's in the heart can overcome what you've done in the brain. Just Michel Gondry, who came right. He had a friend who. Well, anyway, we don't have to discuss the film. People should. And sure. Let's put it this way: that thing deserved. I don't know what Oscar nominations it might have gotten, but I know it didn't win Best Picture, and there was nothing better than that year.
No, I think it was a really good performance from, what's he called as well?
Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Jim Carrey, because before that, he'd been leaping around and playing the fool. And then this film, it's like, didn't even recognize him. I know he's done other films, serious films since then, but I remember at the time it was really striking. I mean, I love Kate Winslet and everything she does. She's just amazing. But to see that performance brought out of him, I think it's really well done. Really good.
Yeah, amazing. And
the writing, film. Of course, Charlie Kaufman. I mean, he's magic, isn't he?
Although to a wonderful extent, it's not a Charlie Kaufman collaborated on the story and then wrote the screenplay, but the idea came from other people, right? Came from an artist. I believe an artist sent people he knew index cards, like postcards in the mail, and the postcard just said, "You have been erased from my life." something like that. And then this artist inspired the idea of making a film about people actually being able to erase each other. So,
you see, this is what I was saying before. You've got to be open to inspiration, haven't you? You never know where it's going to come from. It might come through the post in the form of a strange postcard.
Yeah,
you never.
For sure. Well, beautiful film. Yeah, amazing film. All right. Well, the next question is a film that is overrated.
You see, this is the controversial question, isn't it?
It's a bit tricky.
I've picked Inception.
Inception, sure.
Yes, my friend took me to see that in the cinema. He was like, "It's the best film I've seen. I want to go and see it again." And he took me along with a load of his friends, and we came out afterwards, and they were all shouting about how amazing it was, and I was just completely underwhelmed. I felt like it was full of holes. It wasn't a good plot. I felt like the device they used in it was hammy and ridiculous, and I felt that there have been better high concept films. Maybe it was a good idea originally, but I don't think they did a good job.
Interesting. Yeah, well, fair enough. It's a good one to pick for overrated because Lord knows Nolan has a very large fanboy base.
Yeah.
I don't mean to make it gender specific, but I think it is actually fairly fanboy based. And boy, and that might be their favorite film. I actually love it.
I like other Nolan films. I like other ones, but that one, I was completely unconvinced.
Yeah, and deep down, Memento is the best, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it is. Of course, it's not fair to look at an artist and say everything you do has to be as good as that one. But
no, absolutely not. No, you can't. Yeah, you can't pigeonhole any artist, or you can, but it wouldn't be a good idea, would it?
Oh, we can be petty all we want, but it's just not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing.
It's not. And by the way, I always like to add that overrated doesn't mean you're saying it's a bad film.
No.
Although you kind of did, but you just said it wasn't for you. But really, you were saying it wasn't for you and your friends all loved it, which makes sense because you can say it's overrated just because so many people run around saying it's the best film of all time. And you look at them in the eyes and go, well, this filmmaker's made better films than that. So,
yeah.
So that's, it could be, you could say it's a wonderful film. I just think everyone talks it up too much.
Yeah, but I didn't say that, did I?
You did not. You did not. And it's funny, I haven't seen it for a long time, and I wonder if it'll hold up.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if you watched it again. Have a look at that device he uses. It's not very good.
Which device? The different timelines, the speed of time moving differently in different levels, or the spinning top thing?
Yeah, the spinning top thing, and I don't know. The plot just felt full of holes to me. I picked out a hole near the start, and then I just couldn't enjoy the rest of it. I couldn't suspend disbelief because he'd lost me near the start.
And that's the key, right? If you don't get this suspension of disbelief early,
yeah,
it's a good idea to walk out.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we only have one question left, which is a lesser known film that people should seek out.
For this one, I've picked a film called Sightseers. I don't know if you've seen it.
I
Have
haven't.
you seen it yet? Well, there you are then. It's definitely a lesser known film. Sightseers, all one word. And it's by a director called Ben Wheatley. So it's a British film and it's hilarious. My older sister, I watched it with her. She said, "You've got to see this film." And it's absolutely hilarious. It sort of encapsulates rural Britain and caravan holidays, and then it's just got this sort of ridiculous sort of horror story at the same time going on underneath the surface, but it's proper black comedy. And you just got to watch it. I don't want to give anything away, but it is very, very funny.
I want to comment on two things. First, I love when the British do dark comedy. I think very few cultures do it better, and very few things are as funny as making comedy out of tragedy.
Yeah.
And I love that, look, we had this hour interview before we did these 4 questions, and, and you're a dancer and a novelist and a filmmaker and this and that, and all these things feel Some people might think of it as highbrow, but on your list of films you love, you've got comedy. So clearly you enjoy,
comedy is always my go-to. Like if I've got a choice of film genre to watch, comedy is the one I want to watch. I love comedy. I love laughing. I love things that make me laugh, and hopefully one day I'll write something funny. I haven't done that
you
yet,
haven't written a comedic novel yet?
No, or like, I don't know, a sitcom or something, something fun. I'd like to do that.
Is it a challenge to incorporate comedy into dance?
I think to do it well, it is, without becoming clown, which obviously is, clowning in itself is totally valid, but it's very separate to dance. I love dance that does it well. I think some of the films that have been submitted to my festival do it really well and really made me laugh. When it has to be understated and also obviously very visual. I love slapstick. I love, anything silly, people falling over. I love that. So I think you can do it, but you've got to get that balance between, over obvious, too subtle. You have to find that balance in between. So yeah, hopefully one of these days.
Wonderful. All right. Well, it was a pleasure getting your list, and anyone and everyone should watch Withnell and I.
Yes.
And I assume most people have seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but if you hadn't, and then Sightseers. Okay, I'm gonna have to finish the submissions to Sherman Oaks Film Festival and then jump on Sightseers, because man, I cannot get enough dark comedy, and not to be a total Anglophile, but I don't think anyone does it as well as the British. I mean, my God, Death at a Funeral, the original Death at a Funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. And also Monty Python, like you mentioned before. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Love Monty Python.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and of course the comedy that came before that, right? Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. And I'm sure the tradition goes way back, but yes, when you're a country that has had the shit bombed out of you, dark comedy follows. I know Eric Idle of Monty Python, I'm going to mention, who I mentioned with Withnell and I in Handmade Films. I heard an interview with him not long ago where he said, it was actually during COVID, and he said, the joke is when I was a baby, Hitler tried to kill me, and now COVID is, or something like. But he released an autobiography called "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life."
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, Jenny, it was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's been lovely. Thanks for making me think about it, because it's good to think about some of those films again. And I'm sure that we'll finish now and I'll say goodbye, and then I'll think of 5 other films that I should have mentioned. But for sure. But that's why it's also, I understand it's anyone who tells me 3 favorites, that's unfair. I go, of course it's unfair, but yeah. At least it's 3 instead of 1. But favorite of all time, I think you should make it 1, Jeff. I think, really
maybe
make
it should be 1. You
see, that's why I went with now. There can only be
maybe
1.
It should be 1, and then the second question could be guilty pleasure.
Oh,
because
then I bet, would people be honest? Yeah,
but they should be. I love it when someone. The last filmmaker I spoke to before you grew up on a Goofy movie. I did the Disney movie about Goofy raising his son, and he said it's just the most special film ever. I was like so happy for him that he didn't name Citizen Kane. He named a Goofy movie, because deep down, favorite means you can watch it. You just watch it more times than anything else in your life. Well, you see, my guilty pleasure would probably be the original Annie film, not the one with Sarah Jessica Parker, the one before that, because I watched that a lot when I was a little girl. And the dancers, obviously as a dancer, I was just, glued to the screen watching these amazing dancers doing handless cartwheels over the beds. And so there you are. I've given you mine anyway. Excellent. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much. I guess I'll just add your URLs to my spiel at the end. So if you want to learn more particularly about the film festival that Jenny Pill started, go to ediff.co.uk, EDIFF, for Exeter Dance International Film Festival.co.uk. And you can find it on Instagram at EDI Film Fest, right?
Yeah.
And you should, based upon hearing what films Jenny loves, you should absolutely want to watch your film, right? So go to Amazon Prime Video, type in Discover Indie Film, and Season 7 will have her film voice in it, which actually is a beautiful film with poetry and dance, shot by 7 different artists during COVID. It's just a wonderful film. So everyone should watch that. And give that season 5 stars and write your review and say, I love this 10-episode season, and the highlight for me was the dance film. And talking about dance film, yeah. And we expect to have a season of the Discover Indie Film TV series dedicated to the dance films from Ediff. So that's exciting for me. And if you want to learn more about the podcast or the TV series, go to discoverindiefilm.com. Like and subscribe. Give 5 stars to everything you see. Just be nice. There's too many trolls in the world. So be an anti-troll and give 5 stars to people. Take the 30 seconds it takes to go to Amazon.com and give 5 stars to indie films. And it's at DIF Wins on social media. So that's how you learn more about Discover Indie Film. And then the Sherman Oaks Film Festival we hold every November, that Voice was an official selection at last year. You can learn about that at ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And finally, because I'm glutton for punishment, there's a second film festival every June. The sister festival to Sherman Oaks is called Film Invasion Los Angeles. You can learn more at filminvasionla.com, and it's at filminvasionla on social media. I have now done my required sharing of URLs and social media handles. I'm a fool because there should just be one to rule them all. Instead, I have to name like 3 or 4. But Jenny Pill, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff. It's been really good fun.
It has been wonderful fun. And it's great to see that I admit I love when I love someone's work and then they name their favorite films and my favorites are on there too. I'm like, see, there's something to our art brings us together.
Yay. Definitely it does.
All right. Well, thank you again. And I'll thank everyone for listening.